Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me for this Diabeteric video. If you are new to my channel, my name is Katie and I've been type 1 diabetic for over 33 years. I've had a lot of problems, but I've also found a lot of solutions. So I'm here to try to share some of my solutions with you so you too can be a better diabetic, aka Diabeteric. Okay, so today we are going to talk about low blood glucose level treatments. There's a lot of choices out there and there's a big difference between some of them. So we are going to dive into that and explore that a little bit more. So join me and let's get into it. Okay, so first off, let me just say that every diabetic is different, okay? We find different treatments that work really well for us. This is just my personal experience and a little tiny bit of science to help you find the best treatment for the situation you're in with your low blood glucose level. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I was younger, I used to kind of like getting low blood sugars because it was like, ooh, the chance for me to get to eat something that I was no longer allowed to eat. Times have changed. We're able to educate ourselves. We know that we could really eat whatever we want. But when I was first diagnosed, doctors and nurses told me, no more eating candy, no more eating this, no more eating, all the things I loved as a young teenager. And my father even asked the nurse, are you telling me that my daughter can't even eat an apple if she wanted to? And the nurse said, that's right, she can't. She has to stick to this plan and no eating outside of the plan, okay? Believe it or not, that's the truth. But now we know that we could eat whatever we want. So a low blood sugar level is not our only opportunity to eat something fun, a treat, something that we usually don't eat on a daily basis, because we know now we could eat what we want. We just have to cover it with insulin. However, those moments of low blood glucose, no matter how much we plan, they do come up. So I was really curious about this and I posted this question on a few different websites, a few different applications meant for diabetics, and I got a lot of different answers. What's your favorite low blood glucose treatment? And I got everything from Skittles to whole wheat crackers with cheese or peanut butter, a glass of milk, and I think, oh, that's not what I would want. But there are really good moments to make that choice, those kinds of low blood glucose treatments over, candy or something good. I'm a sweet tooth. I come from a family of sweet tooths. So of course, I'm always going to choose candy when I can. However, there's moments where the whole wheat crackers and peanut butter are going to be a better choice for you. So let's look at why. Okay, so when researching what kinds of foods are best for low blood sugar treatments, I was really, really surprised because so many websites had the same list. They talked about whole wheat crackers and cheese or peanut butter, a glass of milk, 1 full cup of milk. And then on the flip side, they talked about a piece of fruit or a half a cup of fruit juice or hard candies. And yes, all of those things will raise your blood sugar level, but what was missing from all of these websites is why the crackers with peanut butter versus the hard candy, because there's a huge distinction between those two.
So on this side of the table, you could see some examples of some fast-acting sugars. We've got fruit juice, any kind, in the quantity of a half a cup. We have fresh fruit, any kind, really. We've got candies, gummies, jellies, even hard candies. We've got plain sugar, and we also have glucose tablets, an old standard. These are all examples of sugar that does not contain fat. On the other side of the table here, we're going to see slower acting sugars in the form of milk in the quantity of 1 cup. We're going to have some crackers with some sort of nut butter or cheese, maybe some dried fruits mixed with some nuts, any kind. Even dark chocolate can work in this situation. These are all slower because they've got a fat element added in.
Now, if we look at the science behind it a little bit, We know that fat slows down the absorption of sugar, okay? It doesn't block it. Nothing really blocks sugar, but it slows it down. So the sugar is going to go up, but you've got that inhibitor there that's going to slow it down. Whereas if you eat something without any fat content, it has nothing to block it. It's just going to go straight up. So therefore, if you're having a low glucose crash, it might not be the best choice to grab a Snickers bar because it's high in fat. I don't know the exact contents of the fat in the Snickers, but there is fat in it. So no matter what, if you're crashing, that fat is going to slow down the rise of your blood sugar, which when you're crashing and you feel like shit, you want that blood sugar to be back up into range. It's different when you're having a low blood sugar that's, 70, maybe you're newly diagnosed and 70 feels horrible to you. I know when I was in my first, 6, 7, 8 years of being diabetic, I couldn't really function at 70. I would lose it. I'd be sweating, really, really confused, maybe couldn't even tell you my name, would start kind of yelling. Now, because I've been diabetic for so long and my body has adjusted to lower blood sugar levels, sometimes I can't feel it until I'm like at 50. And at 50, I don't want to eat crackers and peanut butter because that fat is going to slow down the absorption of the sugar. I need something that brings me up more quickly than having any kind of carbohydrate that's mixed with fat. Okay, so that's the number one message behind this video, is that if you are crashing, you want to get out of that danger zone. However, these fast-acting sugar carbohydrates without any fat, they go up and they could go up really high. Now, when you're low, your brain can kind of switch over into the survival mode, this fight or flight mode. And your brain might tell yourself, just keep eating until you feel better. Well, if you're eating, gummy candies or juice boxes and you continue to consume until you feel better, you are going to go sky high later. So these are really powerful things. You really want to kind of break it down and know where to stop. That could be a difficult thing for your brain to realize when you're low, because your brain needs sugar to make logical decisions and to think properly. And when you're low, you can't do that. And so you just keep popping them in, keep popping them in. And, later you're going to have an adverse effect, a really high rebound high that could take you quite a long time to get out of. So now there's a rule, there's a 15-15 rule. And of course that can be adjusted to each diabetic, but the rule is eat fit when you're low. And again, depending on how low you are, because if you're at 75, you might not want to eat 15 grams of carbohydrates. The rule is whatever treatment you take, however many grams of carbohydrates you take, wait 15 minutes and see what your blood sugar is doing. If it's continuing to go down, if it's leveling off, if it's rising, before you consume more. Because those rebound highs afterwards, they could be kind of a bitch to take care of too. So as much as the fast-acting, simple sugars without any fat can really help us get out of a dangerous situation, we do need to be kind of patient and aware before we keep consuming. So on the flip side of that, not being in a dangerously low blood sugar, let's say you're just a little bit low and you're going to sleep, or maybe you're going to be doing some activity and you want your blood sugar to rise, but you don't want it to peak up. You want over a longer period of time. Then your carbohydrates mixed with fat are going to be your best choice. Your whole wheat crackers with peanut butter. Why do I say whole wheat? Because whole wheat is a lower glycemic index. It will turn it into sugar more slowly than white crackers, white refined bread. So you're going to have a slower release of sugar in your system with the whole wheat and with the fat. Okay, so we've talked about two different choices. We've talked about simple sugars that raise your blood sugar quite quickly, but can overshoot what you want. Okay, We've talked about carbohydrates that have fat content in them. And there's kind of a third option. Now, these carbohydrates here, they do have fat and the sugar mixed together. But there is another option, and that is eating something that is simple in sugar, following it by something that is either maybe a whole wheat cracker or something that has some fat in it. So, for example, let's say that you're out walking, you're doing activity, and you start to go low. Okay, so you've been burning sugar, so you need to replace that sugar to get you back up to level, but then you want something to kind of back it up later. So this is the time I would eat something like trail mix or something, some dried fruit with some nuts. However, I don't buy trail mix mixed together, because what I'll want to do is buy my dried fruit and my nuts separately, so I could start with my fast acting sugar, dried cranberries or some dates, dried cherries, whatever, or even fresh fruit, yeah, and get that sugar in there working, and then follow it with a few crackers or some peanuts or almonds, because then that extra fat, it's kind of coming in afterwards, and the sugar has had a few minutes head start to start absorbing. And then the other carbohydrate, whether it be nuts that are protein with some fat or some crackers, they're going to kick in and make it last a little bit longer. So if you're really low, it will help bring you up and then level you off. So when you're burning that sugar, because if you eat the sugar and you come up and you're going to go up, well, you're going to start exercising again. You're going to start being active, moving. And so you're going to be burning that sugar back off. So you want something kind of to back that up and stabilize that sugar. So you want something fast acting followed by something that's a little bit longer lasting. Okay, so we've talked about fast acting sugars to really help get you out of an emergency situation. We've talked about sugars mixed with fat to slowly bring you up. We've talked about combining both of those, but with a few minutes in between to have the sugar get a head start. And so I really cannot talk about low blood sugar treatments without talking about glucagon. Glucagon, glucogen, there's different makers of it. So they all come in an orange box like this. You could usually buy them, get them from your doctors or buy them at a pharmacy. This is a wonderful peace of mind to have in the house, okay? It does need to be refrigerated, so I wouldn't suggest really carrying it around with you in a purse or anything like that. However, that being said, if you're having a low blood sugar and it's really low, I wouldn't take this, okay? And here's why. This is what the paramedics will usually administer to you if they're called to your house and you're unconscious, right? Or the hospital, if you're brought into the hospital, this is usually the first thing they'll give you. So how does this work? What is this, okay? Your liver can store about 70 grams of carbohydrate, emergency carbohydrate in your liver. And so what this does is it stimulates that hormone in your liver to be released to let all that sugar go. So when you use this, you are going to have a high blood sugar afterwards. I mean, 70 grams of carbohydrates, 70 grams of sugar is a lot. Okay, I shouldn't say carbohydrates, I should say sugar. It's a lot. And so if you are alert enough, even if you're low, if you're able to think enough to use this, because this is a process, okay? This comes with a syringe that has a liquid inside, and then it comes with a very small little vial that has a tablet inside. What you have to do is inject that liquid inside the syringe into this tiny vial that has a tablet in it. And once you get that liquid in, you mix that solution up, then you withdraw it back into the syringe, and then you inject it usually into a muscle, okay? So if you're alert enough to do that whole process, you're alert enough to eat a spoonful of honey or to drink a Coke or a juice or, whatever other treatments you have. This is for peace of mind. In my case, this is for if my husband comes in and he finds me unconscious, This is what that's for. It's for emergency. You know, being low, it's kind of like being really drunk, but without all the fun part. You know, think about the messages against drunk driving. You just don't have the coordination. You don't make logical decisions. So to administer this to yourself when you're low but coherent, there's better solutions for you. So I highly suggest getting one of these and keeping one in your house for that you know, peace of mind. But you know, this is better if you're alert. This is better. You know, the idea behind Diabeteric is just to be a better diabetic. It's not to be a perfect diabetic. It's just to be a better diabetic. So whether you're newly diagnosed and you're just learning about the differences between simple sugars and sugars mixed with fat, or if you're a veteran diabetic that's kind of forgotten about this, maybe you learned it a while ago, but you know, you're always treating your blood sugar with simple sugars when maybe you should make a different decision. You know, hopefully this reminded you to try your best to be able to identify your low blood sugar. You know, why are you having it and what you need to bring it back up into range in the most efficient way. So, you know, little by little, just leading a better diabetic life. That's the goal here. So I hope I helped you guys do that. And thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate every single view. And if you would consider, if you like this content, if you would consider subscribing to my channel, that would be awesome too. Share this video with anybody that you know that might be having trouble, you know, treating their low blood sugars. Pass on the information to anybody you know. Trying to grow this diabetic community so we all can benefit and become diabetics together. So, okay, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Mwah. Bye.